to everyone. Does the stream work? Hello to everyone. Alright, so I'm going to mute the sound. Alright, so this is part 4. Introduction to MotionBuilder extensions, MoPlugs and OpenMobu. As usual, feel free to ask your questions and I will try to answer or maybe show something more in details. So today I'm going to show a little bit more about the Blendshape tool, and also I'm going to show a little bit more about the particles, especially terrain collision. Then I think I didn't cover 3D Decal filter, which is super cool. I like it a lot in the Composition Master, but I'm going to do this stream, and also interactive pack, which is also quite cool for kind of MotionBuilder interactive shows, virtual characters. That's actually quite big part of MotionBuilder, so it's not only for animation, and as MotionBuilder has quite nice architecture for real-time rendering, it can be used even for all kind of real-time running, like a game engine actually. Anyway, let's start. So like the last time, I showed a little bit of Blendshape Manager and this kind of tool, but I didn't show too much details about this part of what we can do actually with these buttons. What is the functionality and what really we can do with the mesh operations. And yeah, I'm going to show it right now. So this is quite cool thing, especially mesh operations. If we go to tutorials right now, the famous mirror will help me to show some cool things. Quite often, if you want to duplicate something, even if it's a simple box, you can always do with the button duplicate. But the trick is when you duplicate using this context menu item, then the MotionBuilder will duplicate only transformation, but it will keep geometry, and that's why it will not give you a real copy. If, for example, in many applications like 3D Studio Max or Maya, you can have a real snapshot of geometry. So let's say here, for example, my character is running, and I would like to have like the snapshot of geometry. So that I can do this with using the snapshot button, which is running this one KMD FBX. And when it's done, I have this new Mia body snapshot model, which I can move to the side. So this geometry, it's a snapshot, but it's just a geometry. It's not skin bind actually, so it's just a snapshot of geometry. And just a few words about the KMD FBX. So in MoPlugs, if we have a look inside the plugins, there is a special KMD FBX application, which is application which deal with FBX SDK. So basically, I decided to go this way, to split a heavy task for working with the geometry into a separate application, just in case if this application got crash, you will not have the same bad scenario for your MotionBuilder. So simply if it's crashed, your MotionBuilder continue working and you will not lose your scene, which is pretty cool compared to crash just directly plugin, which actually breaks everything and everything just blow and yeah. So this is the snapshot, and what is really cool with this snapshot is the quite usual way in Maya or 3D Studio Max when many years ago we did correction blend shapes, is that we have this geometry that we would like to fix. So we made this kind of snapshot, but then we go to brush tool, and the brush tool, when this tool is working with the skin mesh and you use this kind of add manual blend shape, automatic blend shape, or you use constraint, so when you're adding actually real blend shape after you manipulate the mesh, then it will not affect the mesh internally. But if you're not making any new blend shape, but you just tweak your original mesh like I'm doing right now. So I'm just trying to fix this kind of issues around the skin, a little bit of smooth. So let's say this is kind of my correction blend shape here. So then I exit. This is double transformation. We need to undo one level. This is quite well-known bug that I didn't fix yet. Alright, so we have now this correction blend shape, and another thing that we can do right now, that in our snapshot, if we did the snapshot with this tool, in properties we have some details in it. What is the snapshot time, what is the base model name, and what is the transformation. All this data is needed if we want to calculate correction blend shape on our base model, because we really need to know, okay, we have this correction shape, but what was the original shape, and in which frame if the original shape is skeleton based transformed. So that's why we have all this data. But if you don't have all this data, you basically need to select two shapes. First is corrective, and next is base model. And then you can press calculate delta to create a new correction blend shape. But as I have this kind of properties already assigned, I can run calculate delta, and this is my correction blend shape. So it's basically a model without the skeleton transformation, because the blend shapes, they works on the base level, so they works before the skeleton transformation applied, and this is my correction for this frame. So now how to add it to our geometry. We select the geometry, we drag and drop into container, so this is now the list. And this tool is something like, in Maya we have Blendshape tool. So when you have a list of blend shapes and you could also put several models in the container, you can animate blend shapes together. So now we need to go to this list. We select what blend shape we're going to add, and we press the add a new one. So this one, I call it correction left arm, let's say. And here is my blend shape here, and I can directly animate it. So let's go to layer, so that I'm going to animate. You see that I'm doing correction that I've painted on this geometry. So I'm putting the keyframe and then go into another frame when I want to revert this back. Put one more keyframe. And then on the frame where I want to really revert it back, I can, for example here, put that back. So this is the correction blend shape that I applied for that model, and this is how I compute it. So it's one opposite, not the opposite, but it's like an additional feature set how we can compute correction blend shapes, because on the last video that I shown about the Blendshape tool and sculpt tool, you can paint directly on your mesh and add a blend shape directly, so it will be computed in the same way without all these steps. But these steps is well known for every Maya user and maybe 3D Studio Max user, because it was like a old school computation of correction blend shapes. Yeah, what else we can have here, like cool thing, is we have here quite often we were using this one, combined models. So when you have a lot of geometry, small pieces, it could really influence your performance a lot in MotionBuilder scene, because MotionBuilder don't like too many objects. It's better to have one big density object which transform through joints, and even you have in this profiler center you have GPU skinning, so it will, if you have NVIDIA card and you have support of CUDA, you can even have a big win to compute blend shapes. Yeah, this GPU skinning is not computing only skinning. Internally it computes blend shapes as well and skinning. So yeah, MotionBuilder don't like too many objects, small. So that's why one of the trick how we improve the performance in the wall film, and when I found that there are a lot of objects, so the trick is you can go back to Maya, for example, if it was created before there, and then merge together and copy skin. But then right now there is the functionality you can do actually the same in MotionBuilder directly without doing any kind of steps. You just press this one at the flag, so you want to delete original 3 objects that I've selected, so we combine. So we run the same KMD FBX at the post process, and when it's ready we have this one mesh. So this is already one mesh and it's called right now combined. But you see it has the same skeleton skin weights, and it's do actually the same action, but now it's a one model instead of 3. So this is what combined models is cool for. But then we also can optimize skin. This is if you want to remove some small skin influences, but here we have 62 joints connected to skin and there is no more small influences. But in many cases, if during the model creation and model region, like you didn't follow to have 4 vertices, for example, per bone, or 8 vertices per bone, and you have quite a lot of small influences, you can win a little bit of performance of doing this kind of optimization to prune out all the small influences. And also sometimes if you have problems with the wrong computed normals, there is a trick to recompute normals. It will not be visible here at all, I think, but basically what it's doing, it's really computing face by face, looking for merged shared edges and trying to compute, depends on the angle between edges, trying to compute the normal. Yeah, so that's the functionality that I was thinking to show for the Blendshape Manager, and some mesh operations available here, and also this kind of object container where you can, for example, if you work with the head or if you work with several objects, you will have the list of blend shapes available here. You can animate very close to what you have in Maya, so you don't need to go to properties all the time. That's quite a quick way actually. Yep, that's it. Feel free to ask any questions if you want to know something in details, and if the sound is quite good or good enough. And I probably will go to another thing that I would like to show today is particles terrain collision. So I'm going to new scene. Inside the, if I go to my GitHub, MoPlugs, but then in MB scenes there is the GPU particles examples. And there is the columns with particles that I'm going to show right now. Oh, sometimes it happens, yeah. This is the development process. So yeah, basically sometimes the crashes happen, but we can try one more time. And this time it works. Okay, so this one is something that I would like to show. Like, there is also one cool feature available in the particles, in GPU particles, is that you can do real-time terrain collision, or actually it's a real-time depth collision. How it works? So we have this, all the collisions, so forces for the GPU particles, they are, you can find it in Asset Browser in Physical Properties Particles. And here there is the sphere collision, which is actually this one, I think, yeah. So we have these two lines, like it's connected to sphere, it's connected to terrain collision. The sphere collision is quite simple thing. So it's basically like that. Yeah, it's quite simple. But terrain collision is something quite useful if you want to collide with real terrain or any kind of object, kind of that we couldn't cover with the sphere bounding box, that we want to repeat a shape. So what it does here, we have this object which we create from a collision terrain, and we have the render preview. And right now there are also in our dynamic properties, there are objects connected to here. All columns that we have in the scene, they are connected to objects property. And also we have the text resolution 1024. And we have this dimension, which is size. Please never scale the model, it's better to adjust the size. And also we have the maximum Z value, which is kind of dimension of our height. So what it does, this collision, it's actually draw a scene from the top with the objects that you specify, a computer special depth map. So on this preview it looks white, but in real texture it's a float value, so it's really a kind of showing this height of each column. And if you have a terrain, it will also render a terrain shape as well. So it's render something on top and show what is really the height of each point. And then when the particles are going down and that just rise this height, they know that they are collide with this point. And this system also is evaluated in real time. So your model or terrain could also move, and this image will be re-rendered as well when we have this flag to generate, or we can manually update if we don't want to generate each frame. Yeah, and yeah, then we have this terrain collision and the particles are colliding with this height map. So this one is the sphere collision. So they collide with the height map and don't too much go inside. Yeah, there are some particles which go inside, but basically there is kind of small points between, and maybe it's rendered like this because the particle is actually one small point in space. Yeah, so this is the terrain collision, and yeah, feel free to write if you want me to show how to set up from the beginning. Just to, if you want me to do this, like to create a new particle system and maybe some sample terrain and then put all together and see how it works. Or if it's fine enough, I can go to another thing. Basically, yeah. This is terrain collision, and let's go to another thing, I guess. And another thing that I would like to show right now is a bit more details about the composition master and special 3D decal filter. I really like a lot this filter. This is cool. So let's go now. First of all, let's make a sample scene to show how it works. So I'm going to primitives and make a plane. Then I duplicate. So let's say we have this kind of sample scene, and with that 3D decal, it's a very quick way to make artistic adjustments to this existing scene. So if we go to real-time render of this scene, we can make it as well replace with projective mapping to have a proper rendering in MoPlugs. So let's go to composition tree. Now we create a simple one composition, and let's create a 3D decal filter, this one. Now a little bit trick here is that to make it work properly, as it was really depends on the resolution of the project monitor resolution. So now the hack here is that we need to go with a fixed resolution to have this resolution here, and we need to insert the same resolution here. So the 3D decal, when we generate it and then edit, it will have the same correspondent aspect ratio, and yeah, it will align correctly. We can automatically, like ideally before it was directly run the Photoshop. I don't have this one Photoshop here and I don't want to set up it. So I simply want to do right now is to create a decal. So this texture I'm going to save somewhere. Let's say it will be kind of disk D. Is it responding? Yep. Okay, let's be temp. Let it be temp folder. It's not responding. Wake up, disk D. Alright, so this is some decal already I tested, but we create a new one and call it test. Alright, so we create a new decal. You see this blue rect here. So if I move my camera, you will see that we have now a special projector decal. So what it's doing, this projector, if we refresh our nodes, we have one marker which is model decal view, which actually project the same texture test TIFF with a multiply mode. And if we go to Photoshop and just let's open this texture that I've created. So this is what we generate by our decal when we create a snapshot of a decal. So we can make a new layer and let's paint something here, some details. Yeah, let's take a brush. I will make some kind of ugly graphics, but just to show you idea. So let's say we want some kind of artistic addition to our 3D scene and we don't want to go and rebuild geometry or add any kind of details for real. So we want kind of quick way to do this. So we paint these details, we turn off the base layer, and then we simply save changes to this map. We don't want layers. And when we save changes, we can refresh, and basically we now have these details that we painted here. So yeah, if we turn off the decal and if we turn on, we also can tweak the global opacity, or I think that should be opacity of each separate decal, because it could be a lot of decals inside one filter. You can also create a new one, but then they will be sorted as children here in the tree. And I think we also can tweak a kind of mix mode for this decal. It could be multiply, it could be add or screen. So we can also tweak how we want to apply on top of our scene. And yeah, so this kind of cool way how you can add additional artistic details just on top of your geometry. And all other things like, for example, masking, if you want to mask out the main character to not project details on it, you also can do it with the masking. Yeah, so that's it for 3D Decal filter. I hope you like it, a really cool effect for previews, I think. And let me show some last thing for today. And the last thing that I would like to show is interactive pack. So interactive pack is also the cool thing that was used once for musician show. And I think it's a part of MotionBuilder that no one really used before. Like it was always there. Like if you go to your assets browser, you always can see the comments, and you have this list of comments. But I think even in here we have this comment track, yeah. And I think no one, even like the super hardcore user of MotionBuilder, or didn't really use it before, because it's not really very useful actually, to tell the truth. Like it's no too much usage that you can find for this thing. But I've extended a bit with interactive additional nodes, and then it became a little bit more useful, so that you can make in story a real story of different details, and you can jump between episodes of your story. So it couldn't be you can play not linear, but you can also do kind of jumps to different parts, depends on the action. So on press button or do some trigger and you can jump to different parts. So how we can do this, and also effects like camera shake. Let's put camera shake. If I play, and once I enter this first frame, I start having this camera shake effect. So this is quite a cool effect, and we can always tweak the attributes of kind of duration here, and the amplitude and frequency, maybe a little bit less. So let's test. No, I think even should be, let's move more. Even more. Yeah, okay, duration. Yeah, so that could be even kind of camera shake effect that we can add in story directly. And the same we can do for camera zoom effect, to have 2D zoom effect animated. But we also have this kind of color. This is the special annotation command, where you can put a special name and the color. It could be black, for example, or red. So that could be a part of your non-linear film, non-linear story. And if, for example, on some action you want to rewind not to the beginning, if you enter this frame you want to rewind to the start, or like first color white. So when we run this, so we start and rewind not to the beginning, we rewind to the first, this white color. And that could be a combination also like randomly, so you can jump to any kind of color. It could be first color, the previous color, any previous color of this type. And inside the MotionBuilder samples, we can find, this is GPU particles, but in scenes there is also interactive pack samples. So here we have quite, let's first of all show, yeah, this one, interactive setup 3, it's like a cool thing. Oh, this is very nice zoom effect we have here. Alright, so let's rewind what we have. I will extend a bit Navigator to see more. This one goes here. Alright, so what we have here? We have, first of all, in the beginning we hide groups. Where is our beginning? Not sure where this one, our beginning. Let's automatically jump very quickly. Okay, so we have display rewind, which go to the start if we are here in this part. But then we also have 3 sets of white color, and there are 2 comments in a row, like there is in a column 2 comments. It's a show hide group that we're trying to apply on a group, and also the colors. And this one, when we reach this point, we rewind to the start of white. The start of white, where is the start of white? So it starts from this color randomly. That's basically because I'm pressing buttons all the time, and the button here is trigger the action. If we go to relation constraint, so I'm looking to a keyboard down key, space key, up key, and the right key. And then there is the special interactive nodes. You can do a lot of things with interactive. So for example, the command transport node that you want to, if you have this action input, you want to go the color, random white color, and yeah, this is just a pool connected. So let's see that when we have the value of, when I press down, we will jump to random white color. So let's go to the story. This is the white colors we have here. So I play and press down, and I randomly jump to the regions of white color. When it reach, then it goes to the beginning. And when it's playing in the beginning, it's not enter any region of the story. So this is kind of idling of your story, for example, and this is the separate part. And you can jump and play just a separate scenario and then go to the beginning. So for example, I press right and I jump to the red color, play this part, and then go back to the idling of beginning. If I press space, I go to the green color, play this part of sequence, and go to the beginning. So that's actually how was done the musician show, when it was a lot of different variations of animation, and depends on the action on the stage, and depends on the input like voice or guitar, for example, levels. We were jumping to different actions and showing different variations on the screen in real time, so it was like an interactive music video clip behind the stage. So basically this is what you can do with the interactive pack. There is a transport command, so you can jump along the transport control. There you also can do camera shake and zoom effect here. Yeah, but also you can do it in story. But there is also an example to do it in relation constraint in real time. Like you can do this kind of effect. Right now the level of this effect, the amplitude, is connected to voice levels. But I think it's the same issue. If I connect my microphone, my levels, when I'm speaking right now, they're really too low to see any kind of visual effect here. So it's not really any visible at all. But this is the camera shaking, camera zoom, like you can, let's disconnect and set value manually. So when I increase, I have this shaking all the time, but then I can decrease and I will have no shaking. So you can connect to kind of interactive trigger, and the same here. If, for example, I amplify, so I have this zoom effect, but then I can return it back as well. Yeah, so that's introduction for interactive pack. And I think that's all for now. If you have any ideas or proposal what you would like to see more, feel free to write. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining the stream. Yeah, hope you will find this information useful. All these things are available on GitHub repository. And yeah, from time to time I'm doing some updates, so you probably can see if you have this GitHub desktop, or you can see as usual on repositories directly if there are updates. And like before, as I said, if you find any kind of issues, crashes, or you have just simply cool ideas that you would like to implement, it would be cool if you can just make a new issue here. Like the idea called new issue as well, so it's just one button for do everything. This is the OpenMobu plugin set, and this is the MoPlugs plugin set, which has actually the same. So yeah, if you don't have any kind of proposal what you would like to see more, then it's all for now. Really big thanks for watching, and see you in next videos.